What's going on, ladies and gents? This is Bento with another Steam controller playtest, and this time I'm going to be trying it out on System Shock 2. For those of you who don't know what System Shock 2 is, it's an old school RPG FPS game with a whole lot of sci-fi elements. This game is actually what BioShock is based off of, so if you kind of know the BioShock series, you might really like this game if you don't already know the game. It's a really good old school RPG FPS game, and I think it's worth trying out with the Steam controller. There's a lot of functions that I like that really work with the gameplay. So for my actual control scheme, I am using a pure keyboard and mouse setup since that's kind of what the game only expects you to use, especially for a PC game. But the nice thing about this game is that if you were to look for any controller configurations, you'll actually find that Irrational has their own recommended setup. So I'm actually basing a lot of my control schemes off of that. So for my own personal control scheme, the left trigger is to right click, which is used to select containers, bodies, and just things lying around in the world. The right trigger is my left click, which is used to get out of the menu, and it is the shoot button. My right bumper is to reload. My left bumper is to actually select between ammo types. So if you were to look in the bottom right corner, you'll see it turn to armor piercing bullets and back to standard. My left trackpad is a touch menu, and this touch menu is actually based off of the one recommended by Irrational Games, so you can actually access all the weapons, all the items, including the Psyamp. And if you play the game, you'll learn more about this later. The right trackpad is just my camera movement using a mouse style of input with with a trackball motion, and I do have motion control on. I do also have lean functions for this for motion control tied to the right trackpad. So because System Shock 2 really really wants you to make use of the cornering, especially when you need to shoot enemies or turrets. And that is also tied to the right and left the right trackpad. If I were to click, if I were to click the right trackpad, it would also be the right click. So if you prefer not to use the left trigger, you can always just use the right trackpad. Left thumbstick is just to generally move around. What I also did with the left thumbstick is I had different degrees of movement. So if I tilt it slightly, I'll go into a walk motion, and if I were to hit it all the way, I'll do a run motion. The left grip is to crouch. The right grip is to jump. For my select button, I have the map come up. For the start button, I have just the regular pause menu. And for the face buttons, the Y is to access your inventory, so you can check your map and everything and all your items and all the scan discs as well. The B button is to actually change the the function of the guns you're currently equipped. So if I select B, it'll change the pistol to burst mode and back to norm. The X button is also to reload, just in case you don't like using the right bumper. And the A button is to jump in case you forget. So that's pretty much my control scheme, guys. Let's show you some actual gameplay. So as far as controls go, I really like how the Steam controller works for System Shock 2. Much like my other FPS games, shooting feels good, moving the camera feels good, and even moving just feels good. I especially like that now that I've a little more experience with messing with the thumbstick controls, I can implement a walk system a lot better. So I might actually give my own little tutorial about that, but we'll see how that goes. What I really like about how System Shock 2 works with the Steam controller is navigating the menu. So normally it'd be really difficult to even try on a regular joystick. I just don't see how it's entirely possible since you need the mouse to actually navigate the inventory and a whole bunch of other things. The right trackpad really feels fluid when you're trying to move items between your inventory, as well as accessing your logs or even the weapon info. So I really like how that works. It might feel a little weird because the sensitivity isn't as high as, say, how you'd use a Steam controller for your desktop configuration. So you might have to adjust the sensitivity a bit. One thing you could do though is just use mode shifting. So since the right trackpad and the left trigger are tied to using the right click, you could always just use the left trigger as your mode shift key. That way you can have more access to a whole bunch of other things you might want. For example, you might actually, if you were inclined to, you can put a quick save function on one buttons using the mode shifting key. So that way, if you just want a quick load or quick save, you can have that option. Also, some of you might have noticed I am actually using some updated texture mods for System Shock 2. So the wrench, the pistol, the Psyamp, a couple enemies you will notice will actually look really up to date. This is nothing really affecting gameplay, but I thought I'd just let you guys know in case you might have noticed.
Watts isn't here, so he's probably in his office in the R&D sector. Maybe he's got a backup R&D card in here. Take a look around. Well done. I'm uploading some cybernetic modules. Find an upgrade unit as soon as you can.
Security alert terminated.
One thing I do like about Irrational's own configuration is their touch menu. It's a 13 button key. I might have forgot to mention that in my initial introduction, but it's really helpful because you have access to all the items. One really cool thing about the Steam controller regarding the touch menu is that I think it's a lot easier to access all the numerical keys as opposed to using your traditional keyboard. Mainly because let's say you want to access like weapons that are like numbered 7 through 0, 7 to 9 and then 0. What's really nice about the touch menu is that you have access to all of these options under the click of your thumb. So you don't have to move around your hand too much. This is all just easy access on the left or right trackpad. One minor issue though you might encounter is how overwhelming the touch menu can be sometimes. For some players you might not even use all the weapons based on how you build your character. So you can always just limit how many weapon functions there are for the touch menu, because you might only use like 6 weapons or 10 weapons at the most. But I thought I'd try and see how Irrational's touch menu works out. And I kind of like it. It's something I'm willing to deal with. I mean, I'm fine with being a little overwhelmed with how many keys there are. But again, the nice thing about it is that you can always customize it however you want. I think mouse region could actually work as a mode shifted key for System Shock. I think it'd be a lot easier to access some of the bottom right menus or the bottom left menus if you're not too keen on having to swipe all the way just to access them. It might feel a little difficult to drag and drop items because of how small they can be sometimes. And it might even be hard to access like the corners of the menus. But it might be worth checking out, and if you guys actually do try it, let me know because I want to see if it fares well. So overall, if you're interested in playing System Shock 2 with the Steam controller, I think it works absolutely well. Like I've said before, combat feels really good, shooting feels pretty fluid, and just overall movement and navigating your menus feel really good. It's also nifty to see how System Shock 2 works outside your normal keyboard and mouse. For those of you interested, I think it's also worth revisiting with the Steam controller if you were inclined to. And if you're new to the game, I definitely recommend it either way if you want to do a keyboard and mouse or with the Steam controller.
Your song is not.
Thanks for watching, guys. If there's any games you recommend that you want to see me do a Steam controller video on, let me know in the comments below. And if you have any thoughts or improvements I can add to my configurations, just let me know as well. Thanks guys, and I'll see you all next time.